It does it every time, right? That little did it. And
that was amazing.
And I was thinking, I was like, should we end the music before that? And then I was like, no, because it's so important to get our daily laughs in, right?
That was so good.
So anyways.
I'm gonna record that and loop it.
There you go.
Play it every day in my world.
You are so funny. Well, so I was with my granddaughters this weekend, and they literally were giggling nonstop for hours. It's like we were saying, we're like, well, it's like, oh my gosh, it's just a giggle room here.
Yes.
Kids, because I've heard that kids will laugh over 400 times a day, and adults, if we get one in, it's a good day.
Well, so thank you for that giggle. It's like 10:30. I hadn't giggled yet, so
there you go.
The day is better now.
Anytime. You're right. I should listen to this every day too. So welcome. So we have so many things to talk about.
We do.
So my guest today is Jen McClure, and company name Chapter 2 Wisdom.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but you wear two hats, and actually probably more than that. So we were talking about, we met like 15 years ago. Well, it would have been 16 now, because that's about how long I've been had my companies, right?
Yeah.
I left the corporate world.
Yeah.
And you reminded me that you are my voice coach.
Yeah.
And that is right. And I need a new voice coach in my life.
It was so beautiful. It was beautiful. I was so blessed to be part of that season with you and to help you rediscover your voice.
Singing, because I had just joined the Livingston County Choir with the women's chorus, and I hadn't sung in years and years. And yeah, you really made that transition possible.
I'm so glad.
So anyways, and so now I'm ready for the next phase of voice coaching, right?
Perfect. We will chat. We can chat more. I will love it.
That is so cool. So tell me, which do you want to talk about first? Your book?
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to start there?
Sure.
So, actually, just tell me. Let's just start at the beginning. So, when I first met you, you were Mary Kay sales director.
Yes.
Right? And you still are.
I am.
And you have what, 100 women around the country?
Yeah. Yep. Just under 100. Right. Well, that's my team. I have a client base of several hundred.
Okay.
So.
Of people all over the country, right? That you guide, coach, inspire.
I know. Hook them up with lip gloss.
I know. I had to put lipstick on today because it's like, oh my God, I'm going to be around Jen, and she's so glamorous all the time. So,
thank you.
So anyway, so talk about that, and then how you were inspired then to move into the next phase of your life, the other hat that you wear.
Yeah,
because it's really interesting. It's
thank you so much. So, and you probably don't know this, but that moment happened right here in this room.
What?
Yes. Yeah.
No, I don't.
Yeah. So it was a podcast, Coffee and Grit with Jason Tracy.
Okay.
Yes. And we were just getting to know each other, and he knew me as the Mary Kay lady. And he said, tell me about your business journey with Mary Kay. And I was like, oh, and so I started, just to get the products half off, and then it morphed into something bigger, and then completely changed my life, and it was amazing. And then I had a health crisis and lost everything. It took me 4 years to get through that. I came back the other side, started over at ground zero, rebuilt the Mary Kay thing, and he went, what? Tell me about that. I was like, oh, I didn't know we were talking about that today. Okay. And so on his podcast, I told him about my emotional mental breakdown in my 4-year season being suicidal. And I'm looking across, and I had not shared that with anyone ever.
And you're doing it on a podcast. Well, Jason's an amazing person to be having that conversation with.
Yeah.
Right?
And I'm just kind of sharing, and I look over, and giant crocodile tears coming down his face. I'm like, oh. He's like, yeah, this is the real story. Oh, okay. So I've been kind of kicking around. I knew I was supposed to write a book because when you come through something like that, I feel like you have a responsibility then to help others who are not on the other side, right? because I was still on the planet, and there was a significant season where I was not planning to be on the planet anymore. And here I am. So now I have to help others because I get it. Those people who are really, really struggling and can't even put words to it. If I can help them to not lose 4 years of their life, I'm affecting their marriage, their kids, their grandkids, future generations will get to know the best version of that man, that woman, because I intersected them and at that season where it could have gone differently. So anywho, so I said out loud on the podcast with Jason, oh, and I'm writing a book about that experience. I was not writing a book at that point, but I knew I was supposed to. Being a woman of integrity, if I said it out loud in front of how many people saw that episode, I don't know. Well, now I got to do it. So I think once you set your intention,
Right.
things line up to make it work out. So within 48 hours after that declaration on the podcast, I had found a publisher, somebody to do my website, and a big check came in the mail that we weren't expecting to finance all of it. So I went upstairs in my writing studio and came back out 2 days later with the book in hand, and it was great.
Wow.
Yeah. So that was it. So I love Mary Kay because I can help people on their outside. And when you help people be more confident, they face the world differently. They show up differently. They change the vibe, right? Mm-hmm. But I also really love doing that inner work. So when this all fades, and it does, what you have left is who you are at your core. Mm-hmm. And I love helping people be healthy at that place as well.
That's so interesting. You've said so many things that I'm like, okay, this could be its own podcast. This could be its own article. This could be, right? Because, I mean, I don't know if you know this about me. So my growing up was severely impacted. I don't even know if that's the right word. By mental health issues. I lost my mom for 16 years when I was 8 years old for mental health. And it's it's really near and dear to my heart.
Can I hold your hand right now?
Yeah, yes, you can. Yes, and it's interesting. And maybe it's because my grandkids are that age when mom checked out,
was not
available. Mm-hmm. And so it's a lot of things are just coming up about wondering how we could have maybe done it differently, and all the things that go with that. So when you say, their families, so it's not just you that's affected, right? It's their family, right, and their friends and and all that goes with it. So anyways, so thank you.
Thank you for sharing.
It's just been coming up a lot lately. And like I said, and my mom, she's alive and kicking. She is an amazing, amazing human being. And to not have been able to know her as the human she is would have been just tragic, right?
I think I talk about this in the book. Don't let your darkest chapter be your final chapter.
Yeah.
Get through it. If you don't want to do it for you, do it for your loved ones.
And I can see where, and maybe you can talk about this for a minute, is when you're in that space, how did you find your way out? Or do you even know, and I'm sure you talk about this in the book, I'll definitely read it, how you got there.
I do.
And then how you got out.
I do.
So is that something you want to talk about a little bit?
I can.
Okay.
I can. That's really the first 3 chapters of the book. In fact, it's so sweet. My Aunt Linda's a little softie, and she got the book, and she calls me. She goes, "Jenny, it's so sad. I can't read it." I'm like, get through the first 3 chapters. Chapter 4, it gets awesome. Okay. Just hang in there. It's okay. So truly, I would say my spiral, you're going to think this is crazy, but the first rung of the ladder going down that path really occurred when I was in high school, and I was sexually assaulted. And nobody expects that, obviously. And you're a kid and you don't know how to talk about it, right? So I made the conscious decision that day that the world was not safe. I was not as strong as I thought I was. and I would not trust people ever again.
But you didn't know that you'd made those.
Oh no,
Did you know that you?
absolutely.
Okay, so it was
Yep.
very conscious.
Conscious decision. I'm like, ooh, not
Wow.
letting that happen again, right?
yeah.
So very, very damaged, and then that's not a good foundation for a life.
No.
So and even back then, I was the cheerleader, I was the homecoming queen, all the things. So everything looked great, and there was before and there was after, and I still could, I'm a performer. I could
Right.
still pull off the.
After.
Exactly. So you move forward, and now your life, your foundation is shaky because you're intentionally not connecting, and we were not meant to do life alone in isolation.
Right.
We are not strongest when we're by ourselves, right?
Right.
But I was choosing to be by myself, but not let anybody know, because then you could just proceed with life. And so that really was the beginning. Went on, tried to, just had a life, did all the things, college, career, husband, kids, all the things. But there were some significant losses and traumas along the way that I did not have the skills, the self-awareness, or the support to process properly.
Sure.
And those are the three things that I really are kind of the legs of the stool of my coaching with people. Those are the three things that I want to give them, because that's what I didn't have.
So go through those again.
The
Skill?
self-awareness,
Okay, self-awareness. Okay.
skills, and support.
Okay.
So doing that in community, in a safe community. So then, some significant things happen. And when your foundation is broken, your life, it was going this direction, now it's going this direction. And you have another loss or trauma. And again, you don't have those three pillars that you need. So you go a little bit this direction, a little bit this direction, and eventually that's what led to the crash. Right? It was a culmination
Okay.
of several traumas and losses, and each one took me a step away from mental wellness. So there was a day, one day I was a sales director with Mary Kay, and then the next day I was broken and couldn't pick up the phone, and stopped eating and stopped showering, and I was just gone. I was gone. My body was still here, but I was gone.
Wow.
It was terrifying.
It is terrifying.
Yeah.
It is.
I tell people depression and anxiety are equal opportunity predators. It does not care your color, your socioeconomic, your background. It doesn't care.
In my work on character education and self-mastery, I do a lot of training around that with high school students. Everybody has stuff, right? And so it's being aware that you have it and what you need is a big deal. And we're not taught any of those skills.
Absolutely not.
It's like there's two levels. On the surface of what the noise in the world that we're living in, and it's not modeled, right? The opposite is modeled. And there's lots of people that, like you, are here saying, hey, this is what happened. These are ways out of it. So people are being much more vocal and stepping out and saying, hey, you don't have to live like this.
Yeah.
So it's like these multiple things are happening.
Yeah.
But I guess, and I'm sorry, I'm having a hard time kind of articulating it, because
It's big.
It is big. These are big deal things, and
Right.
we are bombarded so much every day to be
Perform.
to perform, right? I mean, the whole social media thing and all of that, and what we see, it's so fragmented. And so to find that solid, it's so interesting that my son sent me something this morning about just along this line, about how much of a challenge it is to find that inner peace and quiet, and to be able to move slow and thoughtfully with the world that we live in. When the world's designed for us not to do that.
Frenetic.
Yeah, it is frenetic. And so, so how did you come out of that.
I love it. I was hoping that we would get back to that because that's actually the fun part. So it was a number of things. I have a lot of beautiful people in my life that prayed for me. So I had that divine strength and that support going on, even though I didn't want to embrace any of it.
Sure.
Right. They were standing in the gap for me.
They didn't give up on you.
Exactly.
Right.
4 years.
That's a long time, Jen.
I know. My mom called me every day for 4 years. Are you
Did you
kidding
even
me?
want to talk to her?
I did not.
I would think you would.
But she's your mom, so
Yeah.
you take the call.
Right.
So yay. Thanks, Mom. My small group from church checked in on me literally every week for 4 years when I was just absent.
But something I want to say about that, because what a gift, right? And what a reminder to all of us that you just never know. Don't give up.
You could be the lifeline.
You could be the lifeline.
Yeah. Agreed.
Right?
Yes.
And it might feel like it's hopeless and it's, you're wasting your time, but you're not.
Because you don't know.
Because you don't know.
Yeah.
Right.
If you could be, like, if there's the straw that broke the camel's back, you could be the person that took off the straw.
Right.
Like rescue them in that moment. And that is partly what happened for me in that season. I did not care if I lived or died, really, but I just want to be left alone. I was just so lost. I don't want to be left the heck alone. So what I would do is I put my performer hat back on and I'm like, I will go to counseling. So then people will think that I care and I'm actually trying to get better. So I went to counseling. I spent a year in Celebrate Recovery, which is a tremendous program. And I do talk about this in the book as well. I was sitting there in my small group in Celebrate Recovery, and I was so.
What is that? What is Celebrate Recovery?
It's a 12-step program. It's similar to
Al-Anon?
AA. Yes,
Okay.
exactly right. But it's a little more faith-based.
Okay.
So so it was a tremendous program, and you learn the skills, and then you have your small group and all the things. So it was super good. Celebrate Recovery. I'm a huge fan. So sitting in my Celebrate Recovery with my small group, and there was a gal in there, and I talk about the book, and she's given me permission to do this. So I was so shut down that I didn't really express emotion for my husband and I were talking about this. I really, if my shutting down started at age 15, and my breakdown happened at, I'm not saying this right. I did not express emotion for at least a couple decades of just like, there was nothing.
But I've known you,
Yes.
you're animated and so when you say emotion, you're talking about genuine emotion.
Like actually connecting.
Right.
With someone.
At a heart, like our hearts connecting, right? So
yes.
because the surface of you was
Yes.
projecting emotion.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Okay.
Performing.
Okay.
But for a couple decades, I didn't cry. I didn't really laugh. I could do like all the things, but I didn't cry. I didn't share anything that really mattered. I had a girlfriend in college who made this observation to me, and I've not said this out loud to anybody either. But she said she caught it. I mean, that was about 5 years into this living by myself life. And she said, "You're so good at letting people think they really know you. And they don't." I'm like, I don't know what to do with that, but I have to study for my chemistry exam now. And, I tucked that away. But she was aware, even as I was maybe, 19, 20 at the time, and she got that. It was interesting. Anywho, fast forward to Celebrate Recovery. So once I started getting better despite myself. Like you just show up and do the things, and then it like started to break through that surface of like, oh, for the love, I guess I'm getting better. Okay, maybe I do care if I live or die. I mean, so it took me by surprise. I acted as if I really cared, and that was like enough of an open door for some of that stuff to take root. It was amazing. So I'm sitting there in Celebrate Recovery, and my friend Sherri. So once I started crying, I couldn't stop crying, and then it was crazy pants. I couldn't talk because I was crying, and she looked at me and she said, "Don't do it. You've got to be kidding me." So she saw how desperate I was, and that without even saying, she knew that I was at the point of deciding to take my own life. Part of her story is that mental health had affected her family of origin as well. So she knew what that looked like, and she called me out. And I was like, oh, okay. And as we were just speaking, she was a life raft in that moment to make a different choice. The other thing that happened is I found the right counselor. So it was a husband and wife team, Debbie and Michael Carr, really helped save my life. They were the first ones. So I'd been in and out of counseling.
So what made them different? I mean, and you hear this often, that people have counselors and it's just like nothing's really changing. So what was different?
They saw me.
Okay.
And I will never forget that the moment that Michael looked at me and said, "You're not crazy. Your response is appropriate to your history and the stress going on in your home." So at the time, part of what compounded all of that was that my husband Dave, who is an amazing human, as we all know, but for a long time he was not amazing. He had worked in the juvenile field with violent sex offenders, and ended up with PTSD. So in the meantime, we had adopted our son Ryan, who came with significant baggage and issues that we weren't prepared for. So he was in this environment where he was, Dave was pouring his guts into these kids, and it wasn't safe and it wasn't working. And he did that for years and years and years. And then he would come home, and home wasn't safe either because our son had those same behaviors as those kids.
Oh.
So like Dave has the biggest, most amazing heart of anybody, and they sucked the love out of him. So he came home and was critical and angry and scary, and our whole life was walking on eggshells. So but
just compounds.
it was
right?
it was
Right.
it was terrible. So when Michael looked at me and he said, "None of this is your fault. You have been and are doing the best that you could in an impossible situation." So that was the first time I had hope. I'm like, oh, it's not my fault. It's not my fault. And if it's not my fault, then I have then I do have the power to fix it and make a different choice. And I did.
Wow.
There it is. There it is. And so this whole coaching thing, the author thing, I knew I was supposed to do that, but the coaching piece, the speaking piece, I kind of came into it kicking and screaming because,
Right.
in my Mary Kay world, it's all charcoal mask and lip gloss. There's nothing hard about any of that. It's just fun and laughter and all the things. But looking somebody in the eye and saying, "I'm hearing you, I'm seeing you, you're not alone, I will walk with you," that's hard. It's hard, and it was scary. But here's what I thought about. And it's so interesting that you shared about your family of origin, because as the thing that really opened the door and made me realize that I can't not help.
Isn't that?
I'm compelled.
But that's so
compelled.
true. I think about so many things in life, right? If we're paying attention to ourselves,
Yeah.
that it's kind of like the pain of not doing it is greater than the risk and the scare of doing
Right.
it.
Right. Yeah. 100%.
Because you're just like, I have to do this.
Yes.
And
Yes.
I have to do this. And people look at you and they go, what the hell? You know?
Exactly.
And
Like
you're
you already have a free car. from Mary Kay. Like,
Right? You had the pink Cadillac, right?
No, it's not the pink one, but it is a free car,
Right,
and
so-
can't be said about that.
Right.
But when I looked back over, because how do you get from being here to being here? And when I thought about it, really, I said that journey started with that incident in high school. No, it started before that, because I had a dad who struggled with mental wellness and was absent for part of my childhood. And I didn't put two and two together until I had a conversation with my mom. And she's like, oh, yeah. He would come home from work and just go in his room and cry. And I don't remember that as a child. But like you said earlier, the absence of a parent is devastating for a kid, because like, what's wrong with what we somehow go, it's my fault if I was a better kid, if I, that is through that absence. And here's the thing, a thought in my head: what if someone had come alongside my dad 50 years ago? I mean, that just didn't happen. It was a different generation, right? What if somebody had come alongside my dad and said, we're going to unravel this stuff, and you're going to be okay.
Okay.
And his trauma came from being abandoned by his father early on. And here we are. So my great grandpa was not a person of good character, damaged my dad. Dad, came some steps forward and was and is very healthy, and I love that. But there were those gaps.
Right.
And those gaps formed me, and that formed my marriage and my kids. And in moving forward, that has affected my grandkids, because I was absent because of what my grandfather, that I never even knew, my biological grandfather, set that emotion 100 years ago or whatever.
So, and so that's the part I find so interesting, is that and my guess is, if you were able to go back generations prior, it just keeps going forward.
Right.
And so, but how powerful, take a deep breath. Let's just take a deep breath.
Yeah.
And this is, I was not expecting this conversation today. Right. And it's all, but it's good.
Yeah.
It's
real.
It's real.
Yeah.
And I think that's a whole big thing with Good Fat Life, right? This came about not because I said, oh, I'd like to have a magazine and do all this stuff.
Yeah.
It's because I heard this voice coming from my grandfather, who was the apple of my eye, saying, you need to do this.
Oh my goodness.
And I'm like, I don't know anything about any of this. And it was like, oh no, just do it. It's that's like I said, that pain of not doing it is bigger than the pain of doing it is well, whatever. You know what I mean?
The pain of not
doing it is greater. I have to do this because it's just my intuitive sense, and my voice in my head from my grandpa is like, you've got to do this. And so much of this is about saying, this ends now. Right? We want to provide life skills, community.
Yes.
All those things you're talking about, on how we can choose to live a really powerful, good fat life today. And it informs our kids and our grandkids and their kids, because we don't want to have that pattern continue.
Right.
Right. And so it's so funny. I never articulated that deeply before. Yeah. And now it's just, it's like my soul is just saying, this is what this is about. It's about changing the narrative for you and your future generations. Because we've all got those family histories, right?
Right.
So we can be mad at or disappointed that our parents didn't give us these things that we wanted or needed, but they didn't get it either.
Right.
And their parents didn't get it either.
And I'm a very firm believer that people do the best that they can
Exactly.
with what they have. I'm so thankful. I was back in the backyard. It's going back a couple of years with our grandson Jonathan. So I'm a boy grandma. We have 3 beautiful grandsons.
Okay.
And I could talk about them for an hour. But I was in the backyard. I was like, hey Jonathan, hey, have you been back here before? And he's probably 9 at the time. And he chose his words really carefully. And he said, oh yeah, Grammy, I've been back here before. When you were sick. I heard those words and I was like, oh my gosh, my daughter and son-in-law told that story with grace. You know, they didn't condemn me for what I was going through at the time. They didn't speak evil of me. So my grandson understands that was just a season when Grammy was sick. I mean, how kind is that?
Yeah.
That's powerful.
It is powerful.
The day that I got free of depression, and it was a day.
It was a day. Okay.
It was an instant. I'd done a year with Celebrate Recovery, and Dave. So I'd learned to speak for myself, and if you live with someone with PTSD, you don't speak because you don't know. You don't know what's going to set that off. And we had lived like that for years. And I had learned to speak because I had gotten strong in myself. And I decided to live. I decided to get healthy. And if we were going to write a different story for our family moving forward, it would have to start with me because I was healthy and strong now. Okay.
Well, and at the end of the day, that's all we can control.
Yeah, right.
It's like we have to make decisions for ourselves and act accordingly. And then the people around us can choose how they want to act.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. In fact, I'm doing a presentation out in Lansing at noon today, and that's part of my topic. It's so interesting.
Yeah.
Affirmation, confirmation rather. So Dave is like, I don't know what to do. I'm doing everything I can. I'm like, why don't you come to counseling with me? You can support me. Because I knew if I got him in the space of a third party that he couldn't bully. Like nobody bullies Michael. Okay. So, anywho, so he's like, okay. So he came to counseling with me to support me. See what I did there. And we actually had a blowout at the counseling session. He was so angry that he left me and Chelsea. So the old me would have. So this is not my first rodeo with this behavior.
Right.
The old me would have texted and said, "Oh, I'm so sorry. We hurt your feelings. Blah blah blah." You know, that pattern. That's not healthy. No, I didn't do any of that. I called our daughter. I was like, "Hey, your dad just left me and Chelsea. Please come pick me up." And we got home, and the blowout continued. And Dave said, "Oh, I just need to get out of here. I can't handle this." And I looked at him straight up, and that was again another go-to. I looked at him. I said, "You could do that, but that has not served us well in the past. But you're a grown man, and you can make your choices. Right. I'm going to bed. I'll see you tomorrow, or I won't." And I went to bed, slept like a baby, and to this day, Dave does not remember if he went or if he left the house or stayed, but somewhere in the night, I'm going to say it was God, got a hold of him, and they had a wrestling match. Like the blinders were off his eyes. And in the morning, he came and knelt down by the side of my bed and held my hand and said, "I am so sorry I hurt you." And we had been married for 25 years at this point, and I never heard those words. And wow. and instantly, that thing was broken. I got up, took a shower, put on makeup for the first time in 4 years, threw away my medication, called my counselor and said, "Hey, I'm better." They're like, "What?" I'm like, "Yeah, I am." So we talked earlier about the power of community. And Dave will tell you now that season was as much for him as it was for me, because he was very, very broken and so angry and bitter and all of the things. And that was the moment. That was the moment that he turned. And then that season, that depression, that anxiety had served its purpose in our family, and it was done.
Wow. And I get that. I
Yeah.
get that because I've lived through those situations too.
Yeah.
Not in your story,
Yeah.
but in my own story and my own family story, right? In relationships.
And I'm so proud of you for
well-
being brave right now.
So there's so much going on right now in my head, my body, my sense, the whole thing.
Yeah.
It's like I feel like the aha bubbles are going off. Like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh,
I'm so glad.
in the best of ways, right? But it's those things. I mean, we had the Embrace Your Mistakes article this last issue. I love Good Fat Life. I have learned so much and met so many amazing people because of the work that we do, right? And just getting able to, like, having this conversation. It just, it's powerful.
Yeah.
And it's a platform to do that, to provide that. But what I was going to say is that there's so many people. I mean, and if you look at the country, the world that we're living in, there's so many people that I believe were born to be good humans, but there's brokenness along the way, right? And if you can find that way in, like you said, it can change everything.
Yeah.
Because we want to be. I mean, I think Oprah was said is the number one human emotion, or I don't even know what it is you call it, is to be seen. Just see me, right? So anyways, well, this is amazing, and thank you for your bravery, right? Even if it's in spite of yourself, right?
Yeah.
And the message and the work that you're doing. So if somebody is listening, right, and they're like, yes, I want something different, but I don't even know where to start. What would you, how would you guide them?
I love it. Well, I'll say two things about that. So I am launching my first course.
Okay.
And it's called, there you go.
Yeah.
And it's called Transforming in Your Transitions.
Okay.
And I really thought about this, and it's for people that fall into one of these three categories. Number one, me 10 years ago, when you're spiraling and you know it, and you don't want to go down that path. Number two, anyone who is looking at a transition coming up, or just come through one, and they're just feeling a little bit like they're in quicksand. And number three, anybody who is in their current situation and there's such a gap between who they know they're supposed to be, but they're here and they can't figure out the path. So the skills,
But they have a sense of that they know there's something more. Okay.
Yes. So those three audiences could really benefit from the course that I'm creating. And so I would love to help any of the folks in your audience. I am building the wait list right now. So we'll talk about, how to get a hold of me or whatever.
And we'll put that in the show notes.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, so that'll all go in the show notes. Yeah.
But what I would say in answer to your question is, having a comeback story is good, but what matters more is what you do with it, what you do next. What I would say to somebody who is going, we're so happy for you and your breakthrough and all the things, I don't see it for myself. I would say, don't try to do it alone. Don't try to do it alone. You will regret if you do not put the work in to get better. I understand that it's hard and scary, but the alternative, a life of regret, is a burden that you don't want.
And there's so many people, I mean, we see that everywhere, of people that are sad and alone and sick and all of those things because they weren't willing to take that risk or take that leap.
Because it was too
Because
scary.
it was too scary. It was too hard.
Yeah.
Or their pride was, I don't want people to see me in this space.
A life of regret
Right.
is harder.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah.
So, oh my gosh, what a conversation. And oh my gosh, the time has flown. Like, who knew?
Yes.
So, on that happy note, we
Yeah.
will put you. Thank you for being here. So much for being
My
here.
pleasure.
And
Thanks for having me.
for the work that you're doing, and the hope that you bring, and all that goes with that. I just thank you. Thank you. I'm so grateful.
Thank you.
So
Thankful
grateful
for
for
you.
you to be here and share your story. And I mean, just bubbled up a lot of stuff for me too, but also a reminder of why we do what we do, right? Just to build that community and let people know that you don't have to do this alone.
Right.
And there is, I don't know, there's a good fat life out beyond
Yes.
where you might be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the book. If
Okay.
people want a little light,
Wisdom from the Wilderness. Yes.
an intro to all the things, and then I am launching the course as well. When we started, and you said, "Let's set an intention," and I said, "I want to add value and make a difference." I think we did.
think we did. Yes, and so also we'll put this, we'll
fat
put the information on our website, right, about the course and when it is. Do you know when you're going to be launching?
Hopefully later this summer.
Okay, so sure, and you don't have to live local to take it, right? Is it online?
It's virtual. Yeah,
It's virtual. Okay, perfect. All right.
Thank you for giving me a little good big fatness today.
It's so interesting, the journey, right? Mm-hmm. It's just if we can step in, if we can trust our inner voice and step into it, so much more. So on that happy note, I just want to say thank you so much for joining us, Jen McClure of Chapter 2 Wisdom.
Yeah.
And there's so much more to talk on so many subjects. And I just want to do a quick shout out for Hands on Health with Dr. Rushford and chiropractic and self-care. They do an amazing job there of taking care of our physical selves, which translates to our mental self, right?
Yes, it's
Because
all,
when
all
you-
related.
It's all related because when our bodies work well, we think better and clearer and we're happier. So check out Hands on Health. Okay, take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.